Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of Moments of Steel. You're here with your man, Larry Steele. And I got a special guest with me, my brother, Troy Ford. Bless you, man.
You too, man.
Yes, sir. Today, we're going to be talking about mental health and mental health issues. But before we get into the whole depth of this particular issue, I want to share a personal story with you. And my hopes is that this thing will not only impact somebody's life out there, but also may help somebody on their own struggle and journey dealing with mental health. A lot of people didn't know that 10 years ago, I was contemplating suicide. And it wasn't one of those things where, as men, we often, when we're really down in the dumps, we think to ourselves, I'm better off not being here. Even though that sounds like, the scripture dealing with Job, and when Job lost everything in the Bible, Job said to himself, I wish the day that I was born didn't happen. Well, in relation to that, so many of us men go through so much turmoil that sometimes we don't want to live any longer. And so 10 years ago, we was going through an economic downturn in the country. And I was without a job. My wife was without a job. We had 3 small children. Our vehicle broke down. And we were living in a house that the church had provided for us. And so we couldn't even pay our church's rent. But we still went to church there. And so from a male perspective, being a man who's holistically responsible for his house, I would go to church and feel bad knowing that they're looking at me and I have not paid a bill. Our heat and gas was turned off. And so that was another strike against my malehood. And my woman knew it. And so I sunk lower and lower into depression. This thing really was painful. I couldn't sleep at night. I stayed up many nights. The only thing that I can recall that seemed to bring me comfort at that particular point was smoking cigarettes. Thank the Lord that I didn't have a drug problem, because that could have really been a tipping point to digging a deeper hole. And so I sat up all night smoking cigarettes out of the back window, and my wife couldn't even get to me. I was at a guarded place. Oh, I felt so insecure and so depleted. I remembered nights that it was really cold in 2010, and I know some of you can't remember back that far. We had no heat, no gas. The stove was a little bitty stove that couldn't even heat up the whole house. I remember putting our 3 small children in the bed with us and plugging up a hairdryer to keep us warm in the middle of the night. Can you imagine the trauma? Can you imagine the worthlessness that I felt as a man? Can you imagine my church having to supply a place for me to live because I couldn't? There's men out there, some of you, who are really going through this similar situation. Maybe your circumstances are not the same as mine, but you're still experiencing things that have attacked your malehood to the degree that you feel you're better off dead than alive. I want to encourage you today that this is not the time to throw in the towel. We still serve a God that can hear you, that loves you, and that understands your situation despite whatever choices you made. I got here Troy Ford with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about his situation as well. But before we get to that point, I want to share with you, drugs couldn't help heal me. Smoking Newports all night couldn't help heal me. Sex, intimacy with my wife couldn't help heal me. Though those things appeased me for that moment, after a while, the things that you use to appease you oftentimes become the things that hurt you. Because you understand that they really is not healing in there. They're like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And so it took some time, but I'm here today to say thank the Lord that I made it out. We understand that in today's society, there are so many men who suffer from mental health issues. And so we want to chime in specifically on not only what are some of the things that can cause these mental health issues, but also how these mental health issues are impacted by relationships. And so here to lead the conversation off, we want to talk to Mr. Troy Ford, who has extensive knowledge in this particular area.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
One thing I just wanted to make sure that you guys tune into my channel too. It's called KnowOneCares. I have a YouTube and a Facebook page, and it's for men, and we focus on self-improving and becoming the best version of ourselves. And this whole building yourself up as a man and recovering from difficult, hard times, it's a process. It takes time. And I just want to build a community for men to where we could talk about the feminism, what's going on in the gynocentric society and the feminism, and how it's a little bit harder for us in the child support system and in the court system as a whole. And why it's really important for us to be able to talk to each other about our mental health and about keeping a level head and controlling the things that we need to control, such as gambling and sex and drugs, stuff like that.
Yes.
And I just remember Larry talking to me about his situation. Because us men, we go through situations where we may feel like at times why is life like this? Is it worth living and stuff like that? Because times can become so tough and you can feel like you're alone, and there's other men going through things too, just like you, and you might feel like you're alone. And I just wanted to talk to men and let them know that they're not alone going through the child support. They're not alone going through the relationship with your wife or with your girlfriend, and she might be mistreating you or talking down on you. You're not alone in the job situation where you might be asked to do more than what you're being paid to do or what you feel like you're being paid to do. And so what we need is a resolution and something to build a foundation on. And that foundation is going to be you. You got to make this happen for yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I made the KnowOneCares YouTube channel and the Facebook page, because if you don't take that first step in building something, and if you don't take that first step in becoming the best version of yourself, no one else is going to want to stand with you and walk with you. So as long as you have God in your life, you can take that first step. And once you take that first step, then you'll start to have help and get help from others. So the next thing, when I was dealing with the toughest mental time in my life, had to be with the child support when I got my check after I went to court, since I didn't have knowledge on the court system. I didn't have knowledge on trials and stuff like that.
Most men.
Like most men, yeah. We just in there and we like, okay, you say 200, okay, I can afford 200.
Right.
For two kids, I can afford 200. And then when you get your check, it's 200 per child. You're like, well, I didn't get this. I thought it was 200 for both children. It's 200 per child. And you get your check, and 70% of your check is gone for insurance, child support, and you're told to live on the 30%. And now you're already working 50 plus hours, and you now have to get another job to where you're working 80 hours. And if that's not enough, you gotta get another job where you're working 100 hours. Situations like that can cause men to lose their cool. I know for me, I didn't know what I was going to do when I first got that first check where they had took 70% of my check. So I started cutting down expenses, selling everything, and I got 2 more jobs. I was working 100+ hours, and then I got to a point to where I couldn't afford a place to live, and I got to living out of my trunk of my car and out of a storage unit.
Wow.
And didn't have a lot of energy to even see my kids. Car started messing up. So when you have things like that going on, the government don't care.
Right.
The kids' moms probably don't care. And you don't know what to do. A lot of men will have stress breakdowns. They'll have mental breakdowns. And they'll start abusing alcohol, gambling with money they don't have, and utilizing drugs and stuff of that nature. So that's kind of what happened to me in that situation. A lot of times with men, once we go through something stressful, we'll tend to try to replace that with more stress. Such as, so if you're dealing with a financial situation, men will tend to either use drugs, sex, or gambling. For me, I was using sex, so I would get more women to try to fill that gap of pain. And when you try to replace pain with pain, with pain with more confusion, because women are going to bring more confusion to your life. If it's not the right woman, she's bringing confusion.
That's a very good point.
So you bring more confusion, and so you digging yourself a hole.
Yes.
Where it's real hard for you to get out. And so I had to make a change in my life and start making some choices and making different decisions. So after I got through that phase of trying to heal it with women and heal it with sex, and I went through all that stress, I still looked up and I was in the worst position. I was still in the same position, just a little bit worse at the end. I was lucky it wasn't worse than that. And
thank the Lord.
Yeah, I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord for that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Because many brothers don't make it out.
Right.
And the suicide rate, I mean staggering numbers. You know what I mean? Especially with men and not to mention African American men. The suicide rates are alarming. And one of the things that I've noticed about suffering from a mental illness or mental breakdown or mental issue, whatever it is labeled, dealing with the mind and stress and all that, is that oftentimes you don't know it until you're at that tipping point. And so often we seek, like Troy is talking about, we seek to cover those things up with things. And we're really deeply hurting inside. And it often feels like you don't have an escape. Like, where do I go? It sort of reminds me of the song that Escape has. Who do I turn to? You know, to fill this empty space. Who do I run to? You know, when you have, the criminal justice system on your back, child support system, you're facing all these financial woes and issues, things that, it's just so much.
Right. And so it comes to a point to where you gotta stop being a victim.
Yes.
And one thing about it, if you was lacking a real father figure, if you was lacking a real father figure in your life that understood what it meant to be a real man and masculinity, then you really tend to stay in your emotional state and in your victim mentality. So when I went through all this, I would continue to talk to women and I would get into relationships. And when I got into relationships, I would get mistreated. Because every relationship that I got into, I was in feminine frame. I was in a position of where I needed the woman more than she needed me. And that's because I was just raised up in a female-dominated household.
Wow, that's a very good point right there. Yeah. So many men, myself as well, so many of us men are raised in female-dominated households. Speak more about it, please.
So one of the things that made the turnaround in my life was when I was in a relationship and I was in love, deep in love, and we were going to church and stuff like that, going to church together. And I really believed that she had my best interest at hand. I was still working hard and stuff like that, and trying to provide for my kids. And I went through a couple of job changes. But keep in mind, when we first started talking, she was going through job changes, and I had helped her through her job changes. One thing about men, we have big hearts, and we'll try to help whoever we can help, especially a girl that we like. We'll try to help her, whether she's a single mom or not. So I tried to help her through her job situation, and when I went through a job change and my money got a little low, she started changing on me. So this is what really woke me up, when the way she started talking to me. I felt that mask coming off, and she just started kind of being disrespectful. And I ignored the red flags for a while, and that's one of the things I recommend to men is to not ignore red flags and don't live with women. If you got to live in your car, if you got to, whatever you got to do, sacrifice, go back home with the mom for just a moment or whatever, I recommend going somewhere by yourself, because mom will give you the wrong information about what you need to do. It'll be more of an emotional answer. You kind of need to get alone, get in your masculine man, and learn from a man what to do. So, but what happened to me, when she hurt me like that, I went to living in my car and stuff like that again. And I started listening to some people on YouTube about breakups and stuff like that. And I started realizing that I was in feminine frame. I wasn't in masculine frame. And that's when I learned about masculinity and the red pill and understanding female nature and stuff like that. So that's what really changed me. So a lot of men are in relationships right now and they're getting mistreated. They don't know what's going on. She's talking down on them. And it's messing with their mental health because they want to keep the family together. They want it to work. But the women these days are different than the women in the old days. They are modernized. They have a lot of feminism. They have a lot of social media. They have a lot of social media direction in them. They look at their phones all the time. They're attention seekers. So you guys, the women are different, and you got to understand that when you are dealing with a woman and she's heavy in the social media, that's a red flag. So you got to make sure, and women are hypergamy.
Okay.
So if you guys
talk to us about that. What is that?
Hypergamy is women are hardwired to want to date up. So man will date down. We'll date a woman that has a lower value than us. We'll have sex with her, or we'll have sex with a woman that has a lower value. But women are hardwired to respect a man that's of higher value than them. And that's in their nature. They are hardwired to do that. When men are being mistreated in their relationships, when they're getting treated like they're feminine, when she's moved to her masculine and he's getting treated like he's feminine, it's because she feels like she's of higher value than he is. And when women feel like they're...
that's a very good point.
Yeah, when women feel like they're of higher value than you, they'll start to talk down, they'll start to mistreat you, they'll start to want to go on girl trips and be with the girls and leave you at home and stuff like that. And this is called hypergamy, and hypergamy is how the world is based, how the child support system is based, how you can see that because women can get abortions. Women can get abortions. If they feel like that man's not good enough, they can kill the baby. It's hypergamy. When women feel like you're not producing in a marriage, they file for divorce. That's why divorces are filed by 80% by women.
Wow.
Hypergamy. That's what controls everything. So when you're in a relationship and the woman feels like you're of higher value, she'll show you respect. She'll be feminine towards you. But when you have lower value to her, and when you're in your feminine, she'll mistreat you and not treat you right, talk down on you. And that's just how it goes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just how it goes.
And that can definitely play a huge role on mental health issues of a man.
Mental, yeah.
To subject to that, especially if he understands that he's supposed to be the head.
Right.
But she treats him as the tail.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And yeah, getting back to the mental health, we have this bombing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Men are really suffering right now mentally. They have a lot of stress going on.
Right.
That guy that bombing downtown, he probably was under a lot of stress.
Yes.
He tried to warn people he just wanted to release his stress. So different men are going through a lot of stress these days. Mm-hmm. And relationships are a big part of it. But understanding female nature, understanding what you need to do as a man, building up your masculinity, will help you in life become the best version of yourself. Because one of the things that we talk about in building masculinity is having control of your emotions and having a mind of abundance. And knowing that just because you lose this job, that there's something better waiting on you. Just because this girl don't want you, there's other women out here. 98% of women are not going to be good for you. But you got to have a mind of abundance and have confidence that there's better out here. And usually, like for me, there's always been better. Whenever I've lost a woman, there's been better women.
Yes.
Whenever I lost a job, I've gotten a better job. Mm-hmm. You just have to keep going, and you have to learn how to be by yourself, and you have to learn how to navigate through the world and not be afraid to be by yourself and take chances.
Wow.
Take chances, go out on the limb, be different. Mm-hmm. Be different and live way under your means.
Way under your means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, again, this is Larry Steele. I'm here with Troy Ford. This has been another episode of Moments of Steel. Also, real quick, this is where you can find Troy and his work at.
Look, my YouTube channel called KnowOneCares. KnowOneCares. No One Cares. I got a Facebook page too, guys.
There you go. Also, you can find me, check me out, Moments of Steel. I'm still working on a YouTube page. It's coming up soon. Check it out. Men out there right now, if you're listening to us and you know that you're experiencing some of these things that we're talking about, please go get some help. Please learn about the different natures, male nature, feminine nature. Please, please, please talk to somebody before it's too late.
Yep. Comment, like, subscribe at the bottom of the video, and I'll respond. And if you have any questions, I'll respond to them and talk to you about them. And we'll be making videos about the life of a man, about the struggle of a man, about family life, marriage life, single life, job life, all that. This is what we're going to talk about, and we're going to build this thing up and become the best version of ourselves, guys. It's a process. It's not like an overnight thing. Losing weight, working out, becoming mentally strong. It's a long process, but as you're starting and as you're doing it, you got to communicate with somebody, talk to somebody about it. It's okay. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. So I just want to let guys know, man, whenever you're trying to self-improve, it's a process, man.
It's a process.
Yeah,
it's a process. God bless y'all out there.
All right, I'm out.